Let's move to the NHL playoffs. I'll get myself a breath before we move on because we've got 8 more matchups to talk about. The first one being Hurricane Senators. The Hurricanes sweep the Senators 4-0. And my headline for this are the Sens are chippy, but the Canes are on a mission. The Senators this whole series, led by Brady Tkachuk, who really did not have a good series at all. He was unimpressive, and I would be concerned if I were Ottawa going forward. You had a streaky end of season that got you into the playoffs, and you got into the playoffs and really laid a dump for the team. It was bad watching them. And yes, these games were competitive for the most part, but I think that's just because of the physicality that Ottawa brought to the table. The Canes offense was just clearly better, and what was surprising for me was Taylor Hall led the team in scoring. Sebastian Aho and Seth Jarvis, they were factors in this series, but it was really Taylor Hall that stepped up and said, I'm the leader, we're not going to play into this Ottawa game, and we are going to lock in on offense. And another guy, Frederik Andersen, he looks really good. And if he can keep the goaltending going in these matchups to come, especially I think whoever wins this Pens-Flyers series is going to lose to the Canes in 5 or 6 games. 6 games if it gets chippy. I think that Frederik Andersen is very capable of hoisting a cup at the end of this year. And I think that this Canes team is clearly on a mission. Let's move to our next one, that being the Lightning and Canadiens. And my headline for this is just that it's the closest series so far. When you look at the numbers, this is the closest series by a large margin. There's 3 games that have went to overtime, and it's been very close throughout all of these games. Andrei Vasilevsky has been great in goal for the Lightning, and Dobes, who is a rookie for Montreal, has been just as good. It's been a great goaltending matchup, and I think that it gives the Habs a chance. I just like the veteran experience, and it's why I picked the Lightning to begin with Kucherov, with Hagel, with Gensel, etc., etc. I think that the Lightning should win this series, but now it's a best of 3. Anybody could win, and anybody can get hot at the right time, and I think whoever wins this next game is absolutely winning the series. Sabres-Bruins. This is a surprising one to me. I picked the Bruins, and may have been just a little preemptively so, considering that this Bruins team is very young, along with this Sabres team who is just as young. But my headline for this is inconsistency that leads to momentum shifting. Losing 2 at home, if you're Boston, is not the way you're going to get this series. Now you're down 3-1 as it heads back to Buffalo. The inconsistent goaltending by Swayman has just been terrible for Boston. And I think that's something that they look at in the offseason and they say, okay, our offense really hasn't gotten it going, but it's the defense and the goaltending that we really have to look at and evaluate. So I think that this team is super talented, but it needs another season because last year you were in last and now you're in the playoffs. That's pretty good. And I think that you have a bright future ahead of you, but Buffalo clearly is the better team. Tage Thompson is playing out of his mind, and I think that they get it done by this next game, sending the Bruins home as they are disappointed in everything that has happened this season. Let's go to Pens-Flyers. This is a tough series for me, and my headline is, imagine if the goaltending matchup was different to start. Archer Silovs has been phenomenal in the series so far, compared to a guy like Stuart Skinner, who I know has a little more experience in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I believe that Silovs was going to start, and I didn't even think it was a debate, but clearly it was, and Skinner got the start for game 1 through 3. Now we played games 4 and 5, and Silovs has been great in goal. He seems like he's turned the momentum for the team a lot. I think that they're playing behind him. And one thing that I want to point out during this series is there's been a lot of fighting and dirty play and a lot of hubbub from both the Philly and Pittsburgh fan bases. But I think that the important thing is both sides have gotten away with a lot of stuff. And especially these end-of-game fights, I think that a great rule or warning that the NHL should propose is that these end-of-game fights are going to count towards your next game as well. Penalties will carry on into the next game because that will prevent players from doing that. These fights after the whistle where players are going after each other, the smashing people into the ice, it's been a series that I've enjoyed watching for the chippiness as someone that doesn't like the Flyers and loves the Penguins. But as someone who loves the sport of hockey, it's just a bit too much. And it's putting guys at risk. You see a guy like Konechny trying to slash the ankle of Brian Rust, and understandably so after Brian Rust smashes his head into the ice. It was dirty play on both sides. The league needs to step in and do something. It seems like they've really had their foot off the gas with each one of these series, because even Lightning Canadiens has been chippy, Stars Wild has been chippy, Kane Senators got out of hand even in Game 4 where the Senators were down 0-3. It's a lot of the league not stepping in and issuing harsher consequences for how this is going. Everybody loves a fight, and I think it's gathering a lot of fan attention for this playoffs, but it doesn't mean it's right, and it doesn't mean that it's okay for the sport and should be tolerated going forward. It's going to result in a serious injury coming up. We just saw a guy get slashed in the face the other night, nearly taken off everything by a skate, and that's something that shouldn't be tolerated, ever. So going forward, this Pens Flyers series is an example of it's just a little too much. A little too much. Cross-checking Sidney Crosby at the end of the game to try and get him injured. It's just low blows. And it happens on both sides. But when you're going after star players, there's a big difference. Let's move on to the West. Let's talk about Avs Kings. My headline for this is Kopitar's retirement ends in a sad way. The Avs are clearly the better team in this series and should make the Stanley Cup Finals. I think this Kings team didn't even deserve to get into the playoffs in the first place, and I think most people would say that. Most metrics would say that. And McKinnon and Makar just need to be settled on that mission and not get distracted from it. One of these games went to overtime, but all the other games were in hand for Colorado. Colorado is such a good team. They are so deep, and they should make a huge run. And they get to play the winner of the Stars and Wild, which is our next series. And my headline for this is a wildly entertaining series that feeds right into the opponent's mouth. The Avs are waiting for the winner of this series. It has been chippy by both sides with the Stars and the Wild, and I really think it comes down to the goaltending matchup with Jake Gettinger, and we have on the other side of it a guy like Wallstead who's playing phenomenal. These guys are averaging over .950 save percentage, and these games have been really, really close. I mean, aside from Lightning Canadiens, this is the one where it's a toss-up of who can win and who can't. And I think that the Wild getting that win in Game 4 really stunted the Stars, who thought they were going to have this series in hand. But whoever gets out of this series is playing Colorado, and I believe will lose to them as Colorado heads to the conference final. Let's talk Oilers-Ducks. This one is probably the most surprising series for people, because the Oilers were supposed to be on that mission that I was talking about. Connor McDavid was supposed to really want this run to prove himself, to prove that he could do it by himself. And don't get me wrong, Connor McDavid and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, guys like Leon Draisaitl, they prove that they're talented enough to be the offense that drives this team and that they could be the primary force that gets the team to the cup. But it's not enough. They are absolutely lifeless on defense and allowed 38 shots in Game 4 when you had Tristan Jarry in goal, who you know is not good at all. And on the other side of that, you have Connor Ingram, who is playing just as bad during this playoff. Both of these guys aren't good. They weren't good in the regular season. It was our concern headed into the postseason for this team, and now it has opened up wide as guys like Jacob Karlsson really prove that they are a star in the league and are going to likely move on by the next game. Let's talk about the next series and our last series, that being the Knights and the Mammoth. Now this is one that is not intriguing to me at all, but it's an extremely close series with even goals and wins throughout. They both have 13 goals. They both have 2 wins. These games have gone to overtime. These games have been super close. And I think that this last game really snaps the Mammoths' momentum because they thought they were going to have a 3-1 lead and move on. They had to OT, and Vegas absolutely snaps that momentum and takes the series right back. For me, the key part of this series is Vegas has been playing very well under new leadership, and we kind of saw this coming because under new leadership, they were going to be better than what they were because anybody could be better with that. But guys like Mark Stone and Mitch Marner, you need to be better. You've been playing okay in this series, but okay is not going to be good enough to move on. You need to be better. And with that new leadership from Tortorella, it's going to take a lot for this Knights team to be able to make a run. It is clearly the least talented Knights team since they have become a franchise. So for this team to move on, they are going to need to be a lot better. I think the Mammoth are just not intriguing at all. I think that they have no shot of making a run, and I could be wrong, but I think that this bottom half of the bracket where we lie is not as talented as that top half with the Avs, Stars, and the Wild. And that's what we had going into the playoffs, but that's how it's been so far, and teams like the Ducks and the Mammoth just don't intrigue me because they don't have that star power that some of the other teams do.